News about the discovery of the body of Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar began to circulate shortly after Israel announced the start of its new military offensive in Gaza. The development, if confirmed by the IDF, would leave Hamas without its top commander to face the IDF onslaught. ILTV's Steve Leibovitz reports.
The IDF launched a major new military operation in Gaza, seizing key areas with tanks while continuing air assaults, reportedly killing dozens of Palestinians. Codenamed Gideon's Chariots, the offensive includes taking control of strategic areas. Troops advanced on Deir al-Balach, where ground forces had not operated during the war that began last October 7th. Troops reportedly advanced into eastern Deir al-Balach in a coordinated operation amid artillery and air cover. Mobilized forces carried out what were called extensive attacks as part of the opening moves of the operation and expansion of the campaign in Gaza to achieve all of the war's goals, including the release of the hostages and the defeat of Hamas. According to Israeli defense officials, the operation would see the IDF conquer Gaza and retain territory, attack Hamas to prevent them from grabbing humanitarian aid supplies while moving Palestinians from northern Gaza to the south. Amid the warfare, progress has been reported at mediated ceasefire and hostage talks in Qatar. Defense Minister Katz claimed the IDF offensive brought Hamas back to the table and to reportedly propose a 2-month ceasefire with U.S. involvement. Israeli and Hamas delegations traveled to Qatar last week after the release of American-Israeli hostage Idan Alexander as part of a direct agreement between Hamas and Washington, and just ahead of President Trump's visit to the Middle East. The Qatari media is reporting that the proposed 2-month ceasefire would allow time for talks to bring an end to the war. According to the Israeli media, the proposal would free about 250 Palestinian security prisoners. Hamas would hand over a list detailing the status of all remaining living and dead hostages on day 10 of the proposed ceasefire. Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly authorized the Israeli delegation to remain in Doha amid what is termed cautious optimism for an agreement. And there are reports that the body of Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar has been found in a Khan Yunis tunnel, hit in the targeted strike by the IDF last week. According to a report in the Saudi media, the bodies of 10 of Sinwar's aides were found with him. Israel has not confirmed the information.
And Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to visit Israel on Tuesday this week, according to multiple Hebrew language reports. This after President Trump skipped over Israel during his recent Middle East visit. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is seriously considering a plan to permanently relocate up to 1 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Libya, according to a report by NBC News. In exchange for the intake of Palestinians, Libya could receive a major benefit from the U.S. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian has the details.
As Hamas continues to engage in a war and not cut a deal with Israel to release the hostages, all while allowing its own people to suffer in the Gaza Strip, a new report indicates there could be a plan for up to 1 million Palestinians. According to a report by NBC News, the Trump administration is working on a plan to relocate up to 1 million Palestinians in Libya, and it's under serious consideration. The report says the administration has discussed it with Libya's leadership, although Trump himself did not discuss any plans publicly on his Middle East trip last week. He acknowledged his initial plan for the U.S. to take over Gaza or be involved in post-war Gaza.
It's tremendous death, and I want to see that be a freedom zone. And if it's necessary, I think I'd be proud to have the United States have it, take it, make it a freedom zone. Let some good things happen. Put people in homes where they can be safe. And Hamas is going to have to be dealt with.
U.S. officials continue to say a top priority is weeding out the Hamas terror group.
The president talked about this in a speech the other day, that the people of Gaza deserve a better future than what they've had under Hamas. We think that the elimination of Hamas is what achieves peace. We're troubled by the humanitarian situation there.
According to the report, in exchange for the resettling of Palestinians, the administration would potentially release billions of dollars of funds that the U.S. froze more than a decade ago for Libya. They report Israel has been informed of the ongoing discussions, and a senior Hamas official said they were not aware of the talks to move Palestinians to Libya. Lidar, no final agreement has been reached according to the report, and the Israeli government has declined to respond to it.
Thank you, Shosh, for the report, and we'll, of course, continue to follow. Meanwhile, overnight, the Houthi terrorists fired yet another ballistic missile toward Israel, triggering red alert sirens in Tel Aviv and throughout central Israel in the middle of the night. And over the weekend, the Israeli Air Force struck 2 Houthi ports in what has become tit for tat between Israel and Yemen. Back to ILTV's Steve Leibovitz for the details.
The overnight rocket was successfully knocked out of the sky by air defenses, and there were no reports of injury or damages. Sirens sounded across central Israel, forcing hundreds of thousands of Israelis into late-night shelter. The Houthis claim that they fired 2 missiles, indicating that one likely fell short of target. Since March 18th, when Israel renewed fighting in Gaza, the Houthis have fired 35 ballistic missiles and at least 10 drones at Israel. Most were shot down outside Israeli airspace or fell short. At the start of last week, 1 rocket struck at Ben Gurion International Airport when air defense malfunctioned. The latest Houthi attack followed the most recent IDF strikes in Yemen. Over the weekend, the Air Force hit 2 Houthi-controlled ports of Hudaydah and Al-Salif. The strikes were carried out by 15 fighter jets with over 35 munitions dropped on the targets. The Army said the sites were used for transferring weapons and, according to the Army, severely damaged and likely put out of action for a month. Defense Minister Katz had a warning for Houthi leaders.
ונפגע גם במנהיגים, כמו שעשינו לדף ולסינוארים בעזה, לנסראללה בביירות ולהניע בטהרן, כך נעשה גם לעבד אל-מלק אל-חותי בתימן. נמשיך להגן על עצמנו, בכוחות עצמנו, מול כל אויב.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said the real problem is Iran.
אנחנו יודעים גם שהחות'ים זה סימפטום. מי שעומד מאחוריהם, מי שנותן להם את התמיכה, את ההנחיות, את האישור, זה איראן. החות'ים ישלמו מחיר מאוד מאוד כבד, ואנחנו נגן על עצמנו בכל הדרכים הדרושות כדי לשמור על ביטחון מדינת ישראל.
After the U.S. reached a ceasefire agreement with the Houthis, Israel is left alone to face the Yemeni terrorists. Despite repeated Israeli strikes 2,000 kilometers from our borders, the Houthis say they will continue targeting Israel as long as the war continues in Gaza.
And the president of Iran announced Tehran will continue talks with the United States over its nuclear program, but not under threats. A 4th round of talks ended in Oman last Sunday, and no new round has been scheduled as of yet. Iran's president said that Iran would not back down from its legitimate rights, meaning its right to enrich uranium. U.S. President Trump reiterated his stance that he prefers to reach a nuclear agreement with Tehran, but that a military option is still on the table should the Iranians not agree to a deal in the near future. The Trump administration has been clear that any deal reached would include a complete dismantling of Iran's uranium enrichment. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei on Saturday slammed President Trump and accused him of lying during his recent Gulf trip. Khamenei said that the U.S. does not really want peace in the region and added that Trump's remarks about Iran's nuclear program aren't even worth responding to, calling them an embarrassment to the speaker and the American people. He then continued to call Israel a deadly cancerous tumor and called for the genocide of the Jewish people and the Israeli people. So Iran, on the one hand, is trying to negotiate a nuclear deal, achieve sanctions relief from the United States, but on the other hand, continues insulting and threatening the United States and calling for the complete annihilation of Israel. And joining us now with more on the latest developments in the Gaza war and the region is Brigadier General Amir Avivi, founder and CEO of the Israel Defense and Securities Forum. Always great to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
So the IDF has announced the beginning of Operation Gideon's Chariots, but has not yet unleashed its full force. It's still waiting to see if hostage negotiations in Qatar may bear fruit. Now, Israel has been back and forth so many times with regards to threatening military action and then pausing when Hamas finally agrees to return to the negotiating table. So why should we believe this time will be any different?
So Israel has 3 clear goals: to eradicate Hamas, to bring back the hostages, and create a different reality in Gaza. The plans that were approved by the cabinet are decisive plans for a complete destruction of Hamas and also to bring the hostages. Now, it's crystal clear you cannot bring back the hostages without serious military pressure. So these two goals connect well. The plan to conquer big parts of Gaza at the first stage and then the whole Gaza Strip, they support the effort to bring back the hostages. We've seen now the first stage. In the first stage, the IDF went back to a fierce attack on the leadership of Hamas, at the beginning destroying all Hamas leaders on the governmental level. Now we see Sinwar that was targeted, and also the commander of Rafah and other operatives. Hamas is losing its leadership. As the IDF is doing that, it's also starting to conquer areas and dismantling the whole terror infrastructure. This is putting Hamas in huge pressure. Israel wants a deal. We want to get the hostages before we go in and destroy Hamas. And also we agree to a reality where Hamas lays down their weapons and get out of Gaza. That's also a solution that we have talked about from day one. I see these three goals really aligning and supporting each other.
And now President Trump's plan to relocate Gazans suddenly back in the headlines. I mean, what do you make of this? He announced this months ago and nothing came of it, and now all of a sudden it's back on?
Well, I think he's serious about that. And I think that the U.S. is really trying hard to sign agreements with countries that will receive the Gazans. There is a huge motivation in Gaza to emigrate. And logistically, it's a non-issue. Israel knows how to deal with this. The only big question is which countries will receive them. And if there are agreements with certain countries like Libya, or before they talked about Indonesia and other countries, that can definitely be done. And I think that the more we move forward with the plans of the destruction of Hamas, the more this plan becomes relevant. And I believe that we'll see massive relocation in the coming future. And you have many people in Gaza who really, really want to relocate.
And there's been a lot of speculation and analysts weighing in on President Trump's Middle East visit, which concluded on Friday without a stop in Israel. There are reports that the U.S. is pressuring Israel to end the war in Gaza, that there's now daylight between Jerusalem and Washington. Is there any truth to this?
Not at all. I don't think there is any daylight between Israel and the U.S. I can tell you that this last week, we in IDSF met with the American ambassador, Huckabee. He was pretty surprised by the way the Israeli media portrayed the relationship between Israel and the U.S., which is a very close relationship. The administration is fully supportive of the goals of war in Gaza, and there is also a clear understanding that Iran cannot have nuclear capabilities. But the U.S. has its own issues, which are not necessarily issues that are relevant to Israel. We're talking about a country with almost $1 trillion gap in the trade between the U.S. and other countries. We're talking about a country that has 122% debt to GDP, $37 trillion. And I think the president understands that he needs to deal with these economical issues. And this is why he's signing huge economical agreements with Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, and so on, to really improve the economic situation of the U.S. And also to send a clear message that the U.S. is back in business. It's the dominant force in the Middle East, and trying to push China, Russia, and Iran out of the Sunni countries. And I think this serves Israel, looking in the future to really the buildup of an American-Israeli Sunni alliance in the Middle East.
The U.S. back in business in the Middle East. Thank you, Brigadier General Amir Avivi.
Thank you.
And now we want to remind our ILTV viewers that tonight we are live streaming the Jerusalem Conference in partnership with the Arutz Sheva and Besheva from New York. Tune in to hear key speakers in an inspiring evening of thought leadership and Israel advocacy. Scan the QR code to watch the event. And intense anti-terror operations are ongoing in Samaria, where security forces are still searching for the murder of pregnant mother Tzila Getz last week. Efforts to capture the gunman led security forces to the towns of Tumun and Tubas. The IDF's undercover Duvdevan unit killed 5 and arrested 1 terrorist in Tumun. 5 members of Palestinian Islamic Jihad were reportedly killed during the operation. The army also raided Tubas and arrested 3 armed terrorists and confiscated automatic weapons. And as Israel continues to face the immense security challenges in Judea and Samaria, ILTV's Mayan Hoffman was in Nablus to see what is being done on the ground.
A young mother on her way to deliver her 4th baby was murdered in a terror attack last week. To outsiders, it may seem like a tragic outlier, but Israeli security experts say these attacks are frequent attempts and only appear rare due to daily counterterrorism operations by the IDF. In 2024, the Shin Bet recorded 6,828 terror incidents in the West Bank, nearly double the year before. More than 1,000 major attacks were thwarted in the West Bank and Jerusalem. ILTV traveled to Nablus, known in Hebrew as Shechem, a city long considered a terror stronghold, to see the situation firsthand. Nablus is a hotbed of terror activity here in the Samaria region. The IDF is regularly operating, especially as things have been heating up since the October 7th Hamas massacre. It's so peaceful and beautiful up here. You breathe the fresh air and see the greenery. It is unfortunate that down below, it just looks so different. According to Governor Hassan Douglas, 536,000 people live in Nablus, along with 62,000 Palestinian refugees across 4 camps.
Usually a refugee is a temporary status. These people are forced to be refugees for generation after generation, not for their benefit. That is a tool to keep the problem alive, to keep the conflict between Israel and Palestinians alive, and to see that population continue to grow. What it effectually creates is almost the perfect conditions for breeding terrorists.
While the Palestinian Authority is still officially in control of security in Nablus, experts say its grip is slipping.
The Palestinian Authority is suffering from severe disability to operate. Any vacuum in security, of course, is filled by other actors who have other agendas.
Iran is now smuggling weapons into the West Bank through Jordan, arming extremists in places like Nablus. Experts say Hamas's influence is growing. If elections were held today, polls show Hamas would likely win, and the territories would see a surge in violence. In response, Israel has increased raids on militant infrastructure in Palestinian cities. The goal? Prevent future attacks. Most operations are successful, but as we saw last week, not always.
And across North America, thousands came together with one goal: Aliyah. At fairs in New Jersey, Chicago, and Toronto, they found answer, support, and a shared sense of purpose, taking the first real step toward calling Israel home.
Over 2,000 people gathered in New Jersey, Chicago, and Toronto to attend a week of special events dedicated to educating, advancing, and celebrating Aliyah, or immigration to Israel. Hosted by Nefesh B'Nefesh in partnership with Israel's Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, the Jewish Agency for Israel, Karen Kayemet LeYisrael, and Jewish National Fund USA. At the heart of the events was the annual Aliyah Fair in New Jersey, where sessions were held educating potential Olim about the immigration process, as well as healthcare, housing, employment, and even choosing the right community in Israel.
We're able to get so much done in one go, things that we'd normally have to run all over the city for.
Participants were able to meet one-on-one with Aliyah advisors, with government representatives, and a variety of vendors who offered invaluable insights into the Aliyah process. Questions were answered on site, and dreams became closer to reality. For many, these conversations weren't just informative, they were emotional.
I want to make Aliyah because Israel is where I want to live my life and build my family. I want to be part of the Jewish people in a broader sense, not in a small community in America.
All coming with their unique situations, the attendees received personal guidance to provide them with the feeling that moving their lives to Israel is possible. The future Olim left the fair knowing that they are not alone.
We're all taking steps to make Aliyah return to our homeland.
Prior to this event, Nefesh B'Nefesh, the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, and the Jewish Agency for Israel hosted a series of concerts featuring renowned singer Yonatan Razel in Chicago and Toronto, bringing the local Jewish communities together in celebration of Aliyah. Combining music with meaningful conversations about moving to Israel highlighted the unifying spirit of Jewish life and reinforced that every moment of celebration is also an opportunity to explore new beginnings in Israel. The sense of relief, joy, and anticipation was felt throughout these nationwide events, because making Aliyah is more than a move. It's a journey of belonging, a journey home.
And for those who haven't managed to watch last night's Eurovision final, Israel's Yuval Rephael finished in second place. Israel's representative, despite many calls to ban Israel, won the audience vote with 297 points. ILTV's Devo Klein has all the details.
297!
Wow. Israel's Yuval Rephael has emerged from the 2025 Eurovision final in second place overall. With her dazzling performance, inspiring message, and killer vocal performance, Rephael won over the hearts of the crowd, especially the televote, who voted her #1 with 297 points. Israel's triumphant performance came amid mass protests and widespread calls to ban Israel from the singing competition. Live footage captures boos from the audience, while some protesters held up Palestinian flags as Rephael performed. Despite the tribulations, Rephael emerged victorious, albeit in second place, but first place for Israelis at home. This is the second year in a row in which Israel's participation in Eurovision had provoked anti-Israel protests and bullying, yet still winning the audience vote. Last year's Eden Golan also faced boos and protests and came first in the audience vote with 323 points. In both years, two powerful women with captivating stories were able to steal the hearts of the European crowds, emphasizing the true meaning of Eurovision, connecting through music and spreading powerful messages of unity, love, and in Israel's case, incredible resilience and bravery.
Thank you, Europe, I love you! Merci, Toda!
The judges continue to snub the Israeli contestants, but the people love Israel's songs. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 15 degrees Celsius or 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside hot temperatures with highs of 28 degrees Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, ILTV.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Ladar Gavelazi. Be well, stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.